All right. Good evening. We're going to call the meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District to order. Roll call, please.
Director Sailors.
Present.
Director Gould. I believe you're on Zoom. And we'll come back to you. Director Wood.
Present.
Director Rice.
Here.
Director Costa.
Here.
Director Weber.
Here.
Director Stark.
Here.
Director Clark.
Here.
Director Jones.
He's here.
He's here somewhere. Okay. Going back to Director Gould.
Just an attendee.
Just an attendee. Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead and do the pledge of the flag. Director Sailors.
Justice for all.
Thank you, Director Sailors. Metro Cable announcement. This meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District is recorded. The recording will be cablecast on Metro Channel, Cable Channel 14, the Local Government Affairs channel, on the Comcast and DirecTV UVerse cable systems. Dates and times of those recordings can be found in the agenda packet. Now we'll move on to public comment. So public opportunity to discuss matters of public interest within the district's jurisdiction, including items on or not on the agenda. Do we have any?
I have no speaker cards. If anyone's wishing to make a public comment, please let us know. Also, if you're on Zoom and you wish to make a public comment, please use the raise your hand feature. If you dialed in, you can press *9 to raise your hand. No response. No public comments. Thank you.
Comment. Thank you. That takes us to consent items. Are there any questions from the board? All right. Can I get a motion?
Second.
First and a second.
Second.
Great.
Thank you, Director. Roll call.
Director Sailors.
Aye.
Director Wood.
Aye.
Director Stark.
Aye.
Director Clark.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Weber.
Aye.
Director Acosta.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. That takes us to our presentation item. This evening, we'll be hearing on the Measure O Fire Station Design Review Update. And we have Erin Castleberry. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, President Costa, directors, Chief House, colleagues, members of the public. I am here tonight to bring an update on our Measure O Fire Station Design Review progress. So, as you know, we are replacing 3 stations using Measure O funds, Station 23, Station 61, and Station 112. Little information here on these stations. You guys are familiar with them, I am sure. The scope of Station 23 is to turn the existing 3-bay station into a 5-bay, 15-bed station to house a future battalion. Station 61 will be a 5-bay, 12-bed station. Station 112 will also convert to a battalion house as a 5-bay, 15-bed station. Station 42 will be relocated to our vacant Watt and Myrtle property located here. That station will be a 3-bay, 10-bed station. So the purpose tonight is to just give you an update on where we are in the progress of our design. First off, our design program was built around 6 key goals: stakeholder engagement, ensuring that our members have a voice in the design process; operational efficiency and functionality, ensuring that our stations support quick and efficient response to the community; wellness, health, and safety, to ensure our stations protect our members from the hazards of the job as best they can; durable systems, materials, and finishes, to make sure that our stations last a long time. We don't have to come back in and fix things. And Flexibility for future needs, ensuring that our stations can meet the needs of the community far into the future at these particular sites. And finally, delivering the projects on time and on budget, which is always very important. So we didn't just randomly come up with the designs for the stations. We actually built these on the previous feedback we received from the members in our first round of design engagement that we did in the fall. We also based it on community needs that are identified in our master planning documents, lessons learned from previous station projects, and also industry best practices. So once we had these concept design documents ready, we sent them out to our internal design review team, which is about 140, 150 people, which includes a group of members who signed up to participate as part of this review process, as well as every member who is assigned to the 4 stations in question here. So that group had the opportunity to weigh in on the base design program, which generally describes the spaces and how they relate to each other and what their functional needs are. They were also able to weigh in on the conceptual site plans, which of course represents how the station is configured on the site within the context of all of the site constraints. Some of them are listed here. And they were also able to weigh in on the floor plan, which of course is the layout inside the station. Our focus there is on optimizing response and exposure reductions and operational efficiency there. So we received a ton of feedback, over 320 comments. After we kind of filtered through, there was a lot of duplicative stuff and sort of recurring ideas. So we probably ended up with about half of that in unique ideas and concerns. For the most part, they revolved around response time concerns, which is circulation to the app bay, how to get to the app bay fast. The size and location of high-use spaces like the gym, the kitchen, and the day room. And then safety and security concerns on the site. Regarding to both physical security measures as well as contaminant reduction inside the station. That was sort of the general categories that were most prevalent. So there were a lot of comments that were comments across all 4 stations, not unique to a particular station, but just general comments to be applied for all 4. Some of the site plan ones included gate locations, site access and security issues, the length of apparatus bays, and concerns about wash structures and how much space that takes up. Floor plan, undersized gyms, undersized kitchens, undersized day rooms, the location of those, privacy concerns, and then circulation, just kind of general circulation concerns. And then there were some other comments that don't need to be addressed in this moment of design during schematic design that were more kind of furniture and fixtures and appliances and things like that. Those things are going to be addressed in a future phase of design. So we still have those on the list, but we didn't address those in schematic design. So as a result, we did make several revisions across all 4 stations. We've listed those here. We adjusted gate locations so that we brought the gates forward so that there's no exposed dorm windows or anything like that in front of the gate. We made sure all of the app bays are tiller length for maximum flexibility. We moved the trash enclosures behind the gates at every station to just reduce unauthorized visitors to the trash. And we actually improved the sites by including a wash bay functionality on the back apron instead of having a separate wash structure. So we could gain some space on the site. Floor plan wise, we co-located kitchens and day rooms to make sure those were combined spaces. We increased the size of those. We made sure there was outdoor space, both for the gym and the dining patio. We increased the size of the gyms. and addressed some of these other concerns here. As I stated, some of the other furniture, fixture, and equipment comments will be addressed in a future phase. Now, Station 23 by far had the most comments. Over 1/3 of the comments were just about Station 23. It was our most challenging site. As you know, it's a small site and we're trying to do a 5-bay, 15-bed station there. So there was a lot of comments and a lot of concern. Most of the concern centered around the design being a 3-story design, and how that would impact response time to the app bay. So we actually, due to the amount of feedback we got there, we decided to do an extra level of engagement with the crews at 23, and we took our design team out to Station 23 and sat down with the crews and kind of talked through some of these design considerations, got their perspective and input on some of the revised design documents in response to their concerns. And we really appreciated that engagement. So as a result of that, we have redesigned that to a 2-story design. We added a second access point into the app bay from the 2nd story. We did convert 1 pull-through bay to a back-in bay, so it'll be 3 pull-through and 2 back-in in order to gain some first floor square footage. We relocated the gym to the 1st floor. That was, other than it being a 3-story station, that was probably the second biggest identified issue there. We did some reconfiguring of the BC area there as well. Station 42, 61, and 112 had a lot less comments, but nonetheless did have some site-specific comments. Station 42 mostly was just around what do we plan to do with the additional space out there that we're not using. And our intent would be to eventually, after the project, parcel off the rest of that land and dispose of it. It is prime Watt Avenue frontage, so it will probably be of good value to us. So that's the intent there. So the crews were concerned about having to do a lot of maintenance out there and things like that. That will not be a concern here. 61 has a little bit of a tight apron in the back, so we did some reconfiguring there. And there was also a request to preserve some of the materials and artwork from the existing station and incorporate it into the 5th bay there is really sort of a show bay for the Mills 1 apparatus. So we're going to try to incorporate some of the beams from the app bay and some of the other artwork into that space. So I thought that was a cool idea. Station 112, the biggest oversight on our part was what to do about the reserve program. We did not plan for them on that site. So we have added a reserve storage building there for their apparatus. We also included space for the B5 SCBA cache because the intent would be that that would be the B5 battalion house now. And we relocated the BC quarters to the 1st floor for some separation there. So after we made all of these revisions, we actually last week sent them all back to the group again and said, here, based on all your feedback, we've made all these revisions and we want you to weigh in on what they look like now. Have we sufficiently addressed your concerns? Is there anything outstanding that's a major material issue that needs to be addressed before we move forward? Along with that review, we also now had available building elevations for each of the stations. The building elevations obviously are intended to complement the neighboring community, but also maintain their fire station identity and sort of have some continuity across the 4 stations. So we're excited to share those with you tonight as well. So this is the proposed elevation for Station 23 in Citrus Heights. This is Station 42 in North Highlands. Station 61 in Rancho Cordova. You can see that smaller bay there is the Mills 1 bay. And Station 112, also in North Highlands. So we also sent these out to the members as part of that second review package to get their input on those. That review period ends tomorrow. So once we get all of those comments, we'll be wrapping those back up and looking at those and seeing what further revisions we need to address before our design moves forward. So looking ahead, we do intend to submit our planning applications to all 3 AHJs, Sacramento County, City of Citrus Heights, and City of Rancho Cordova next month, or start at the end of next week, technically. So we're getting those in to start the entitlement process early. And then schematic design is anticipated to be complete over the summer, wrapping up comments we received from the AHJs, as well as additional comments we've received in this last round of comments from our members. We also sent these out to all of our support service divisions, CRRD, to make sure that all of the needs of facilities and IT and that they were able to comment on all this as well. So our total timeline here, we do expect permitting to start towards the end of this year, construction to start next summer. So that is our plan. That's all I have for you tonight, and I'm happy to take any questions you have. Of course, we'll be keeping you updated as we progress through these projects, and I'm always available for questions as well.
All right. Thank you very much. Any questions from the board? Director Stark.
Thank you. Great presentation, a lot of great work. I'm really impressed with the input that you got from the members that are actually, live there. And I think it's very important. And I'm really excited for all of these and congratulations to you, Aaron, and everybody for all the work. The one thing that you probably told me this and I've forgotten. When is the phase when we would reach out to the community so they could have their input?
Yes, thank you for asking that. So we anticipate that being part of this planning stage of the application process with the AHJs. They'll let us know. We actually had some pre-meetings with the AHJs, and Citrus Heights particularly identified a couple neighborhood groups that we should meet with. We are scheduled for one of those groups later in June to give them a presentation. I'm waiting to hear back from the other one. And then we'll be working towards Rancho Cordova and whichever organizations in the North Highlands area as well. We anticipate getting that information once we kind of submit our applications.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. Any other questions? Could you bring up the slide that shows the time frame, please? So we said permitting phase end of this year through March, construction mid next year. What do we foresee? Are there any hurdles or issues that we foresee may take us off track?
So right now, our intent is to do all 4 of these concurrently. Once we submit our planning applications and we have a better idea from the AHJs of the timing of the entitlements, that would probably be the longest, the biggest variance between the projects. We'll have a better idea of how we need to adjust this and if we need to fast track or split off any projects that are going to take longer. So projects that are ready to move forward, we intend to move them forward. We're not going to wait if other projects are slower. So we'll be making those adjustments as we get more information and know, but that's kind of our first trigger is once we get these applications in and get a better picture from the AHJs, the timing of the entitlement process, and whether that would impact our building permit submissions.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Director Rice.
And then President Costa, through the chair, Aaron and Jeff, could I ask that you would keep the board apprised of where we're at in the permitting process, the completed permits, but even more than that, the permit costs. Jeff, we had a short conversation, and I know that they are pretty, I would call extreme. But I think the board would want to know that as we go on. So thank you. Yes.
Thank you,
Director Costa, I just want to be a little more specific to your question and
Yeah.
get ahead of it right now. I do anticipate some troubles with Station 112.
Okay.
We will run into some state and probably federal water issues and sewer issues. So I just want to be out front with that.
Thank you.
We are trying to do our best to mitigate that up front with lessons learned to Station 67. But Director Rice, to your point, they will be substantial financial challenges. So as soon as we have the information, we will provide it.
Thank you. One more question. Director.
Thank you. Aaron, what is the plan for relocating, rehousing the units?
Good question. Thank you. So Station 61 crews will actually remain on site. So if you recall, when we brought an MOA with the city of Rancho Cordova to you earlier this year, we're doing a land swap there with them. And part of the understanding with them is that they will let us use the vacant land that is not part of the new station site to house temporary facilities for the crews there. So they'll remain on site, but they will be in temporary facilities. Station 23, there's not enough space for them to remain on site. It's my understanding we're working with operations on finding an alternative site or alternative sites for the crews there. So that is to be determined, but we're evaluating that right now. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? So Aaron, just so I can, so we're going to be submitting all four, but you guys are ready to pivot if we run into something with one or two or so.
Correct.
And then if we find ourselves in those situations, I think as Director Rice had asked, that we just get a regular update back to the board.
Definitely.
Perfect. And at this point, is there anything you need from the board?
Nope. That is it. I'm good.
All right.
I think.
Very good. Great presentation.
All right. Thank
Great
you.
work. Thank you. All right. That takes us to the public hearing, the final reading and adoption of ordinance 2026-01. And that is the fee adjustment for medical aid and ambulance transport user fee. And then we have Deputy Chief Mitchell and Assistant Chief Renicki.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks, President Costa. Good evening, board members, Chief House, colleagues, members of the public. So we've gotten through the first reading. Appreciate the conversation at the last meeting. Happy to be here before you tonight to go through that next step in the process, which is the second public hearing. And then ultimately, because we have not gotten any feedback additional or made any changes, staff is recommending do the public hearing, close the public hearing, adopt the attached resolution rescinding the old ordinance and fee structure, adopt the new ordinance, and finally adopt the resolution for the fee schedule. That's what we're recommending tonight. Again, thank you for all the work for the folks that have worked throughout this process, long process. I would like to recognize our partners from Whitman being here again tonight for support. They were integral in this, coming up with the final product that's before you. So, and also Chief Rudnicki, Jeff Fry, Dave O'Toole, and team. There was a lot of work that went in. So unless there's any questions, we'll turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Any questions from the board? All right.
Excuse me.
Sorry, Director Jones.
Yes. Are we going to go through another presentation for the proposals? Well, I have an attaboy, and I want to get to it before we get too far down the line. I'd like to acknowledge Chief Rudnicki. Today, we spent a bit of time going through. One of my main concerns was when someone has an issue with the bill, how can that be resolved? And it concerned updating phone numbers, making them larger displays on the forms. And both Chief Rudnicki and myself, we made individual phone calls to see what was going to happen with this. And because of that great investigative work, Chief, I think we've greatly improved that user end to make it more friendly, more adaptable, and more readily available for people where you don't get caught in a circle or a loop. So Chief, I appreciate that extra work you put in today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Director Jones. And with that, so this is the final reading. So we have public comment. Do we have any public comment?
You want to open the public hearing first.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so we'll open the public hearing to establish the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District Medical Aid and Ambulance Transport Fee Ordinance. So the hearing is
Correct.
open. Any public comment?
Do we have any public comments in the audience? Online, please use the raise your hand feature. Give it a minute. No response. Thank you. No public comments.
All right, so we'll go ahead and close public comment. And we have 3 motions. Is that correct? Okay, so we'll take the first. Is adopt the attached resolution repealing ordinance 2023-01, amending the medical aid and ambulance transport user fee.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
First and a second. Roll call, please.
Director Sailors,
Aye.
Director Wood.
Aye.
Director Stark, Director Clark.
Aye.
Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Weber,
Aye.
President Costa.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Next, adopt the attached ordinance number 2026-01, specifying the administration and implementation of the medical aid and ambulance transport user fee for the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second. Roll call, please.
Director Sailors,
Aye.
Director Wood.
Aye.
Director Stark.
Aye.
Director Clark.
Aye.
Director Jones, Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Weber,
Aye.
President Costa.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. The ordinance is adopted.
Thank you. Last, we have adopt the attached resolution establishing the new medical aid and ambulance transport user fee schedule.
So moved.
We have a first. Do we have a second?
Second.
Director Jones, a second. Roll call, please.
Director Sailors,
Aye.
Director Wood.
Aye.
Director Stark.
Aye.
Director Clark. Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Weber,
Aye.
President Costa. Thank you. Motion passes. The resolution is adopted.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, team. Great work. All right, we have some action items. So adopt the resolution for the contract award recommendation for general counsel. We have Administrative Services Officer Jill Guzman. Welcome.
Good evening, President Costa, directors. The item before you this evening is for board consideration of a contract award recommendation for general counsel services under RFP 26-03, general counsel and other legal services. The district issued an RFP on March 18th and received 14 proposals. 8 of those were proposing to serve as our district's general counsel. Based on district's current priorities, staff focused the evaluation process first on the selection of general counsel, with evaluation of the additional service proposals to occur once this phase has been completed. All those proposals were evaluated based on qualifications, experience, service approach, past performance and references, and fee proposals. Following these written evaluations and interviews with the 2 top scoring firms, Chronic, Moskovitz, Tideham, and Gerard was identified as the highest scoring proposer. Therefore, staff is recommending that the board adopt the resolution awarding RFP 26-03, general counsel to Chronic, and authorize the fire chief or his designee to negotiate a professional services agreement, which will return back to this full board for final approval prior to execution and any commencement of services.
All right,
With
thank
that,
you.
Any questions that you may have?
Any questions from the board? Director Weber.
So the firm that you're recommending, do they have experience with special districts, with fire districts, with work comp, everything that we deal with?
Yes, they do have extensive services, and this is my first RFP. So as a fun learning experience, and all of the proposals that we received, they had a ton of special district fire service experience, a broad range. So I was pleasantly surprised with what we received.
Very good.
Again,
Thank
being
you.
my first one, so.
Thank you, Director. Any other questions? All right,
Staff's recommendation.
we have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Great. Director Sailors,
Aye.
Director Wood,
Aye.
Director Stark,
Aye.
Director Clark.
Aye.
Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Rice,
Aye.
Director Weber,
Aye.
President Costa.
Aye,
Thank you. Motion passes.
thank you.
Good job, Jill.
Great work. Thank you. All right, our second action item will come back after closed session. So that brings us to reports. We'll start with the president's report. So I'll just highlight for the board, I think after our last meeting, we got some feedback during one of the report outs. And so Chief House and I, along with Vice President Scholar, had a chance to kind of connect after to talk about next steps. We did meet, and I think there's a lot there. And I know the chief is prepared tonight to talk about some of that. And I think we have others in the room that might be providing feedback as well. So I'll just say we have a lot of work to do as a board. And I think we need to have an open mind about where we are and where we might be going. And definitely getting feedback from the team. But I think we have an opportunity now to hear from the chief and ask him some questions and figure out next steps. So with that, Chief House, I'll turn it over to you for the fire chief's report.
Great, and good evening, directors, members of the public, and colleagues. Tonight's report was an output from and requested by the board from last board meeting. It is intended to provide a factual update regarding MMP staffing challenges, members' wellness concerns, and mitigation efforts. District leadership has been actively engaged for months in collaborative operational planning and staffing mitigation efforts. I want to reinforce the district's commitment to member wellness, sustainable staffing, and continued service delivery to the communities we serve. Our focus has been and continues to be on solutions, actions, collaboration, and measurable outcomes. I also want to acknowledge the wellness concerns that have been raised, along with the engagement and participation of the MMP personnel in attendance tonight. The overall vision remains commitment to workforce wellness and sustainable staffing. We are constantly reviewing and updating our staffing plan while it's a constant moving target. As with many operational environments, staffing remains a consistently evolving situation, and we are continually reviewing, evaluating, and adjusting our staffing plans and mitigation strategies as conditions change. Tonight, the board will hear updates from several divisions involved in these efforts. We're going to start with Wellness, Health, and Safety Division with Captain Manfredi and Battalion Chief Gonzalez.
Thank you, Chief House. Good evening.
Good evening. Bear with me. This is not my jam. I've been here before.
You got this.
Thank you. So my name is Ryan Manfredi. I'm a captain in the Wellness, Health, and Safety Division. Talking a little bit about what kind of got me into this MMP thing. The middle of March, I ran into an MMP employee. They were discussing some of the staffing issues I did not know about. There's always staffing issues, but I didn't know how bad they were. So that sparked a 45-minute conversation on what was really going on with them. So that kind of got on my radar at that point. The very next day, Chief Peck sent me an email with the same concerns. Sounded like this had been going on in their meetings as well. So he's put it on my radar as well. So that got me to be a little bit more proactive in the wellness, health, and safety in the behavioral spot. That's kind of where I'm at with the Wellness, Health, and Safety Division. After hearing from Chief Peck, I felt I had an obligation to kind of dig into it a little bit deeper. The challenge in my world is there's still there's confidentiality issues, and there's still a stigma with individuals talking about how they're doing. You can't just walk up to individuals typically and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" and have them be honest all the time. So the best tool I've found to do that is to send out a survey that's anonymous and see if I could get some individuals to open up a little bit about maybe what their behavioral health was looking like. So again, for my world, it's very data driven, okay, because of the stigma and the confidentiality piece. So I sent the survey out that day, spent about 3 weeks waiting. We got about 70% of the members to reply, which is pretty astounding considering many members don't typically do surveys like that. And felt I had enough of a sample size to just take the data that I had at that point, put it in a report, and I sent that to Chief Peck. I also sent it to the MMPs. Since they did the survey, I wanted them to see what the survey results were. And then a couple of days later, I also sent that to all the company officers as well as to labor, so for their awareness. In my opinion, the company officers, there's a challenge with the schedules. It's hard for them to build relationships with the MMPs. And so I wanted them to have that data in order to just keep a little bit closer eye on the M&P rank. Those individuals that were working a lot of them are younger and want to go suppression and may not speak up if they're struggling. And so wanted to give our leadership in the firehouses a little bit more, a few more tools in their hands in order to work with that. A few things that we've done or we have been doing, we've been working on this stuff for a while now. Our goal has always been education, awareness, and resources for the membership. We just finished an M&P Academy. I taught there as well, giving them the education in order to kind of know what the signs are and all that, and those kind of things as far as stress, cumulative stress, sleep deprivation, all those kind of things. The awareness piece is much more challenging. We have over 700 members here. All 700 members deal with stress in a different way. So I encourage them to take the educational components and find out what is your triggers, what works for you, what are your coping skills, and those kind of things. And then as far as the leadership, we've got more MMPs in the peer support team now than ever, which is fantastic. I've heard from many of them, getting, just conversations, text messages, those kind of things. And again, I've talked about this last time I was here. Our EAP utilization is still up, which in my opinion is good. We're getting members in. I don't know who they are. I assume some of them are MMPs, but we want people getting in sooner rather than later. So those are some of the things we've been working on. A lot of conversations with individuals. Again, the confidentiality piece, the stigma is still kind of one of those things that we challenge with here. And the hard part is we can't make people go use resources. They might be struggling and then they think they're handling it okay, and they just don't want to use those resources. So those are the things that we're working on from the Wellness, Health, and Safety Division. And then as far as grabbing the data and setting that up the chain of command, that is for their information to have. I feel they need some awareness as well. So that's kind of all I've got. Any questions?
Thank you, Captain. Any questions from the board? No questions. Okay, thank you.
So as Chief House and Captain Manfredi said, they've already been discussing, the district takes the health, wellness, and resilience of our members very seriously. Supporting our personnel requires more than providing resources. It also requires us to actively address the operational conditions that contribute to stress, fatigue, and workload challenges. What I'd like to do tonight is provide some context regarding what has been occurring behind the scenes to comprehensively address these challenges. Planning for MMP staffing challenges did not begin this year. District leadership and Local 522 have been working together on staffing contingencies for years, including a formal MMP staffing contingency agreement established in 2023 to address anticipated staffing shortages while maintaining service delivery. The challenge we faced this year in 2026 was not simply a normal turnover or vacancy issue. At one point, very recently, 12 members of the MMP rank were unavailable for extended periods of time for staffing. That represented more than 14% of the entire workforce being unavailable to staff units. That figure does not include vacation or sick leave usage, training assignments, or other normal staffing impacts. While we routinely plan for attrition and vacancies, we cannot reasonably predict or immediately replace the simultaneous loss of more than 14% of the rank. It is also important to recognize that staffing levels are governed by negotiated agreements and authorized positions. This is not simply a matter of hiring beyond the number of positions established within the program. Recognizing these challenges, district leadership, EMS leadership, staffing personnel, human resources, and Local 522 representatives continued working collaboratively earlier this year to identify mitigation strategies and contingency plans. Those documented efforts included staffing solution meetings, ALS to BLS conversion planning, workload reduction strategies, brownout contingency planning, staffing projections, and ongoing labor management discussions. At the same time, the district continued recruiting qualified paramedic candidates and supporting internal EMTs pursuing paramedic licensure as part of our long-term workforce development strategy. And you'll hear from Chief Arica here in a little bit more in there. By the spring of this year, these collaborative discussions had evolved into specific operational plans designed to provide immediate relief to the rank while maintaining service delivery. At this point, I'll turn it over to Chief Wagaman, who will discuss the actions that were implemented and the results that we're beginning to see.
You wait 1 second. Sorry, Chief. Any questions from the board? Not yet. Okay.
Thank you, Chief Mitchell. Good evening, Board of Directors. Again, at your request, I'll provide some additional details and dates surrounding the most recent actions as well as operational coordination that began in early April. Specifically, on April 8th, in an effort to maintain transport coverage during MMP brownouts, the shift commanders, in conjunction with EMS 24, began utilizing an additional AMR unit throughout the service area to maintain transport coverage. That was under our surge contract. On April 17th, the MMP survey was brought to the executive staff's attention during a labor management meeting. Upon its conclusion, additional information was requested surrounding this survey from the Wellness, Health, and Safety Division, specifically Assistant Chief Peck, and he was able to provide the executive staff with these additional details on April 19th. At that point, operations confirmed with the EMS division that an updated staffing contingency plan was well underway. On April 22nd, the EMS division provided an updated plan to the shift commanders for their review and input. That review ultimately resulted in some additional operational considerations. Since these considerations had both hiring and potential fiscal implications, an all-hands staffing meeting was requested, which was later scheduled for May 11th. On April 27th, I spoke with labor regarding the recent success of the shift commanders in conjunction with EMS 24, activating AMR on a short notice to assist in backfilling the system upon the brownout of an MMP units. The following day, an email was provided to labor with an update on their request for firefighters to work on MMP units and the recent success of adding this AMR unit to the system during brownouts. On May 11th, we commenced an all-hands staffing meeting with staffing, finance, payroll, HR, the shift commanders, and the executive staff. Upon completion, the group reached a consensus on the next phase of the staffing contingency plan. There was also a thorough discussion on firefighter staffing and projected staffing levels at both the suppression and MMP rank through November of 2026. On May 12th, the shift commanders began communicating outputs from the all-hands staffing meeting to their respective battalion chiefs for line distribution. That same day, I spoke with labor regarding the recent all-hands meeting with the next phase of the staffing contingency plan being released shortly. Also, on May 12th, I received a draft bulletin memorializing the next phase of the staffing contingency plan from the EMS division. On May 14th, the final bulletin language was agreed upon and confirmation from AMR on their ability to staff yet another unit was received. On the morning of May 11th, an email was sent to the command staff authorizing the release of components of the updated staffing contingency plan. By early afternoon, the Support and Emergency Services branch and the Operations branch were in agreement on that bulletin language. Labor was given an opportunity to review this bulletin with no concerns received. Additionally, I asked for labor's help in requesting assistance for voluntary firefighter callbacks on Medic 61 in order to avoid additional contingency measures. Their support was received with the caveat that staffing at a firefighter level could become challenging come July. We both shared that concern. On the evening of May 14th, the bulletin was released for district-wide consumption. Since the brownout of Medic 626 on May 18th, voluntary MMP callbacks have decreased by 26%. Mandatory MMP callbacks have decreased by 85%. Unintended but anticipated consequences. We have had so far one shift where we've had an additional staff member who did not have an assignment. This can potentially be problematic if these trends continue, at least from a fiscal standpoint. Some MMPs are starting to express concern regarding the reduction of overtime opportunities. Some firefighters are expressing concerns about having to staff additional FDMs in place of MMPs. So, with each phase, we must continue to analyze for proper balance and intended outcomes. The next phase of the updated staffing contingency plan will occur on or before June 15th, rounding out Medic 661 and upstaffing Medic 61 on a voluntary callback basis. This is due to the projected staffing shortage of 10 MMPs transitioning to the Fire Academy mid-month. Now, Chief Farika will provide you some additional staffing details to include future projections.
Sorry, Chief, really quick. Any questions from the board? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Good evening, Directors. Chief Eureka. So from the human resources side of the house on this topic, paramedic recruitment has been a challenge nationally and more importantly, statewide in California. Hiring has pretty much been nonstop since COVID. Hiring is extremely competitive, particularly for firefighter paramedics. As you look at the majority of our MMPs, they come to Metro Fire to become firefighters, not career paramedics on ambulances. Human Resources has consistently hired all qualified paramedic candidates that have applied for the MMP program and were successful in completing the background investigation process. Yep, no problem. Human Resources has consistently hired all qualified paramedic candidates that have applied for the MMP program and were successful in completing the background investigation process. The district provides opportunities for EMTs hired within the MMP program to upgrade to paramedic. Board Resolution 2017-100 allows for tuition reimbursement for members that complete the paramedic program at American River College. We have also partnered with the CalJack program and recently had 19 EMTs go through their paramedic program at no monetary cost to the students. MMP members can use paramedic school as an acceptable reason to refuse mandatory callbacks. This includes classroom hours, clinical hours, and during their internships. The district also provides internship opportunities for our members that is free of cost. Recruitment in EMS put in significant amounts of time at job fairs, paramedic classes, and other recruitment events. I'm not going to get too deep into this topic tonight, simply because we have a far more in-depth presentation coming to this board at the next board meeting about recruitment. If there are other opportunities to recruit, we are willing to explore them. One bit of feedback I have received from some of the recruitment events is that candidates, especially paramedics, are not interested in our MMP positions, but more so firefighter paramedic positions. And that is a very common theme that I hear from our recruitment folks. We just did a large recruitment. We had, as Chief mentioned last meeting, we had 400 candidates take the exam for EMT. We also had 15 paramedic candidates in there. Out of the 37 EMTs that are currently in background, 11 of them are at some point in their paramedic process as well. These members may be given hiring priority depending on where they are in their paramedic process and how the timing works for the upcoming MMP academies. We recently moved the upcoming MMP Academy forward by 2 months in an effort to fill anticipated vacancies. The original academy was scheduled for November. We've moved it to September. And that's just basically to facilitate the amount of time it takes to get the background process complete. And we've expedited that process as we work through that. The current staffing levels for the MMP program are established in the personnel authorization document and the current MOU. Current PAD staffing allows for a total of 78 members plus a pool of 10%, which adds an additional 8 members for a total of 86 members in the MMP program. As of today, we have a total of 85 MMPs, 49 paramedics, and 36 EMTs. During the last few months, as Chief Mitchell mentioned, we've had several members on long-term leave, up to as many as 12. These leaves include workers' comp, pregnancy leave, military leave, et cetera. This number has since decreased to 10 members off on long-term leave. The vacancies caused by these long-term leaves are not positions that can be filled with additional hirings, since they are currently filling PAD or pool spots. During the last board meeting, it was pointed out that there had been 154 vacancies that had been filled during the previous 17 days in the MMP ranks. To provide some clarity to the 154 vacancies that had to be filled, an MMP vacancy for 24 hours actually creates 2 vacancies during that 24-hour period. This is because the MMP schedule includes 2 12-hour shifts in each 24-hour day. So if you consider the members off on long-term leave, each member creates 4 vacancies per week, which translates to a total of 40 vacancies per week. You look at that over that 17-day period, that's approximately 100 of the 154 vacancies that had to be filled. The district is willing to explore an increase in the MMP pool, but it will have a fiscal impact while we are already operating in deficit spending. Any change to the staffing level would require a side letter that is agreed upon by labor and management. And until such time that a written agreement is in place, the district must operate within the language of the current MOU and the approved PAD. Chief, I'll turn it back over to you.
If I may, sorry, really quick. I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
So we mentioned 400 candidates took the exam, and then you gave a number. What was that number right after that? I apologize, I missed it. Of how many are in
Yep.
30?
Right now, there we have 37 EMTs and 15 paramedics in the background process. And out of those 37 EMTs, 11 of them are at some point in their paramedic process.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Before we turn it back to Chief House, any questions from the board? Director Jones?
Yes, thank you, Director Costa. As a follow-up to the President's question, would we be able to hire all those under the confines of the PAD?
It would, if we were to hire all of them for the next class, it would actually put us over the PAD.
Okay, and you're saying that it takes some work to change that?
Correct.
Hmm.
It would be something that would have to be agreed upon through the meet and confer process.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Any other questions? All right, Chief House.
I want to recognize the continued efforts, professionalism, and sacrifices of the MMP personnel as well as all district members supporting our operations. I also want to reaffirm both my personal commitment and the district's commitment to member wellness, operational stability, and sustaining staffing solutions. We will continue emphasizing collaboration, transparency, operational assessment, and data-driven balance with real-life decision-making as we move forward. Our focus remains on measurable outcomes, continuous improvement, and supporting the health, safety, and effectiveness of our workforce while maintaining service to the community. Everyone in this room shares the same objective: supporting our members, maintaining quality service delivery and patient care, and building a sustainable future for the Metro Medic program. Mental health is an organizational priority that affects all of us and requires a unified organizational-wide commitment and shared responsibility. This isn't a labor concern. This isn't a management concern. This isn't a board concern. This is a united concern that we all have the responsibility to look out for each other and take care of each other. I'll pause there because I do have more for my report that doesn't apply to this tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, team. Before we step away, sorry. Any questions from the board? So I've got a few. Captain Manfredi, do you mind coming back up? Sorry to put you on the spot. But I think it was important, Chief House, thank you for your leadership. It was important for us to bring this issue back, and I think it's an issue that we want to address. So I appreciate everyone's time and effort getting us to where we are today. We heard a lot last meeting. We've got a lot of information today, and so I'm just trying to understand it. So I apologize as I ask questions. What was the goal of the survey?
To get a pulse check on where the MMPs actually were. You hear stories of one or two people, and then you could send a survey out like, no, I'm good. I like the overtime. I'm working as much as I want to, and things are fine. A concern from the behavioral health and wellness side, every rank here has had a staffing issue at one point or another. And I know what it did for me when the captain rank was going through that. And I just wanted to check in on them so I could send information out to management as well, but also to the peers and the captains to let them know what's going on with the MMP rank, because I didn't know. You know, I'm working a little bit overtime, but it's hard to keep a pulse on exactly what's going on out there all the time. And so that was the goal of the survey, is to give people some numbers and some information to make decisions.
Right. Thank you. And you feel like you met your goal? Met the goal of the survey?
Yeah, I think so. It's nice that the MMPs actually filled it out. I mean, I can't do it without them actually filling it out. Surveys are sometimes hard to get responses back. So it's a concern, but it's like if you're unhealthy, it's better to know it and get it fixed rather than to just hope it goes away. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. President, I have a follow-up
Jones,
question if it's.
Please.
Okay, thank you. How did you quantify and analyze the results of the survey?
Mainly well, have you guys seen it? I don't know I mean, it's not a very extravagant survey. It's not very scientific. It's basic questions and just seeing what the percentages were out of the 70% of what some of the responses were. Some of the biggest responses that were concerning were some of the symptoms that they were facing. And quite honestly, it's not a lot. It's a lot of things that the suppression rank is facing as well. It's a tough job with a lot of work and sleep deprivation and those kind of things. So it's just it's looking at it and putting numbers to it and kind of compiling it into a report and just look, I'm a fireman. I'm just looking at the numbers and go, this looks bad and this looks good, or I'm putting it that way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for example, within the respondent universe, we're half concerned, we're 10% very concerned with the situation. That's what and maybe we can't extrapolate that information right now, but that's an issue I would like to know for that idea of what were the responses and how do we categorize them and what was evaluated, what was measured and how we measured it. Self-reporting, that's what a survey is about. Right. So under those, that general interest in trying to extrapolate good information from the survey, that could be very helpful, including if we end up with the discussions about to increase the pad for MMPs. This type of information could be very helpful in that discussion.
Yeah, I sent this through my chain of command, and that's kind of where I stopped. I'm trying to stay.
No, I totally understand it.
Yeah.
And you all have a copy of the survey. Yes.
Yeah, so I guess I'm not, so how did I come up with the questions for the survey? Is that kind of?
Oh, not really. No, that's part of your bailiwick and you're working there and I'm not. So that's fine. I'm just trying to extrapolate next steps as a result of this survey. So that's future discussion.
Okay, so
thank you.
I guess from the wellness, health and safety, our division perspective, it just puts up more of a highlight on that rank and encourages, I'm encouraging the leadership and the peers in the stations to just check in with the MMP rank a little bit more and have those conversations and build those relationships.
Sorry, quick one. Have in the last many weeks or however, since you sent out the survey, have you had any increase in contacts from MMP ranks to your division?
I have had a couple. I would say that there's leadership there are certain members in the MMP rank that are, I would consider leaders in that rank. I mean, they don't really have that kind of built into their rank. They have had, I think, more contact with those individuals. And I've had some people reach out for questions, looking for resources and those kind of things. And I've reached out to some of the ones that are in leadership or on peer support just to kind of check in and see how things are going. I have heard that since the changes that operations made, that many of the MMPs were happy with those changes unless they were at the medic that got shut down. They were a little upset about that, but it sounds like I talked to one person who said that the overall sense he's getting from the changes that operations made with the medics being closed for now were enthusiastic about the reduced mandatories.
Okay. I'm just hoping that with all our discussions and all this work that we are moving the needle toward the positive side. So thank you, Chief.
I got promoted.
That's okay. I can self-promote too. Go.
Perfect.
It's getting close for him too on the battalion lists.
Anything else?
I do, but I'm going to check with my board. Any other questions? Okay, so just to follow up, because I think this is important. So we've done a survey to see where the members were. And in that survey, there were some recommendations. It sounds like those recommendations have been taken and we've addressed to some extent through the plan that we just heard earlier. So I just want to make sure
Yeah, and I have to say, the recommendations, I didn't know what operations and EMS were working on when I sent this report up. So
Sure.
those are recommendations that I just felt like might be helpful
Based on the data that you've.
based on the data that I had. So I didn't know what they were doing. It sounds like they've been working on this for a while and had those things going prior to this getting sent up
Yeah.
through them.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Captain.
Anything else?
Did a great job, by the way. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Deputy Chiefs, sorry. I've got some more questions. But before I ask, I'll ask the board. Any questions? Okay. So I just want to, because again, I think this is it's an important issue. We've gotten quite a bit of feedback. So we've heard about a survey we've completed. We've had some recommendations associated with that. And what that shows is what you're doing. You're doing the work already to address some of those recommendations, if I'm correct. Maybe Chief Wagaman, I'm sorry. Do you mind coming to the mic? Yeah. So on the operations side, we have a survey that was complete. That survey had some general recommendations, but it sounds like we've been working on meeting those recommendations. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, to
Okay.
support Captain Manfredi, not knowing the contingencies that are already put in place, he identified some of the ones that have been put in action. But to the chief's point, this is a moving target.
Sure.
As much as the first week looked good and the second week is trending well, we need to continue to keep an eye on it. And if we take another rig out of service, which is scheduled to occur on or before the 15th, we need to analyze everything before and after that.
Sure.
To make sure we don't have extra people. Or if we do have extra people, what are we doing with them? Right?
Mhm.
It is an increased demand on our firefighters. What does that look like? Do we actually have the ability to up staff on a voluntary basis in FDM? And if we don't, then we have to go back to the drawing board and figure it out. And we do have some contingencies that we're going to constantly look at and that we can implement. But we're doing it with extreme caution, back to that balance with every decision that's made, with each plan that we institute, there are unintended consequences. So the word of caution is that we do this relatively slowly, but knowing that the members' health and well-being is currently at risk, so we can't drag our feet at the same time. So it's a delicate balance.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Chief. Director Sailors.
Excuse me. What I see happening, this is a new program that we implemented. In my career with the fire service, every time we implemented a new program like hazmat, it always had growing pains. And we always had problems getting the new people trained, put into the stations. Where were we going to put it within the boundary of the department? And I want to congratulate all of the MMPs that are here tonight. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being part of this new program that we have established and are working through to get through all of these new rusty moments. It is a new program for us, and I'm kind of sorry, but you guys are the ones that are having to deal with the new figuring this out. But this happens in the fire service every time we start any new thing, because we have to, as he has explained, figure it out as we go along. But he's very good at it, as are all of these guys. It just takes a little time, so please be patient. And as you could tell, Captain Manfredi could tell from your survey, he was aware of it, but he was already working on it. Please be patient with us. Thank you. That's my only comment.
Thank you, Director. Any other comments from the board? So I'll just say before we turn it back to Chief House, thank you for putting together the information and keeping us informed. I think it does show that the communication is important, and so please keep it coming. And I think we need to make well-informed decisions, and we can't do that without the information. So thank you for taking the time, providing us with an update where we are. And it sounds like we have some short-term options to address the current issue, but you're still working on a long-term plan to implement the overall vision of the program. Am I correct? Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Chiefs. With that,
Thank you.
Chief House.
This is highly important for this organization, for sustainability, for service delivery being exceptional, what we expect from all of our members, the service that we provide, the trust to the public. So I hate to move on to something else, but I am obligated in my fire chief's report to address some other topics of concern or issues. So I have a couple other items that I want to share with you. And the first one is I want to thank everybody that attended yesterday's Station 23 dedication to fallen firefighter Richard M. Onspaw, who died in the line of duty to occupational cancer. It was very meaningful to me to see Richard's family that was there, and they traveled from out of town, alongside with the so many retirees yesterday and current members who came out to support his legacy. I also want to remind everybody that tomorrow here in this building, we graduate MMP class 26-1 at 1800 hours. And the last one, I apologize to everybody. This is hot, literally this afternoon. We got a phone call, and I regret to inform you that this afternoon, the district was notified of the passing of retired Captain Ray Stedronsky. And I apologize, Chief Rice, this is hot off the news. It affected me when Jill came in and informed me. He passed on May 21st, my birthday of this year. I worked with Ray, phenomenal truck captain. He will be sadly missed. I know he was enjoying retirement in UC Davis, riding his bike every day. It absolutely comes as a shock to me. Phenomenal, sometimes cantankerous person from Florin, but man, he set the tone for Truck 106 for a bunch of years. Station 53, I know Chief Rice, Director Rice. Man, this just hit me hard, and I apologize, but this is literally hot off the press, and I owe it to all of us to recognize that loss for this organization tonight. He served the district for 34 years. He retired in 2012. Service information will be shared. Obviously, we're working with his family and the funeral home. More information will absolutely be coming, and we'll do everything that we do for all of our retirees or anybody that has a loss in this organization. And with that, that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions from the board? Director Weber?
Do we have any information whether it was related?
Excuse me?
Do we have any information whether it was job related or
I
not?
think I owe it to the sensitivity to this tonight and being this fresh off. I'll sidebar with you individually as information comes. I understand. I just want to leave it at that.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Weber. Thank you, Chief House. All right. So operations report, administrative report, support emergency medical services report was captured in Chief House report. So that brings us to firefighters local 522 report. Vice President Sean Scholar.
Evening. Me
Good
again.
evening.
No, I
Good
love
to
it.
see you.
Sorry, it says Sean on it. I don't know how to fix that ahead of time. So
That's okay.
maybe it's an email, but you got me today. So
Thank you for being here.
first off, thank you to the board for hearing the message last board meeting and asking for this to happen. I won't get into the fact that it's only happening because you asked, but I'm going to be grateful for the support of the board and the ask for this. I want to address a couple items in a positive note and then turn it over to ask questions, because I would imagine and hope that there's lots of questions after the last board meeting, as we have some questions. We spoke to things in the concern of there being no long-term solution, and I still, after hearing these reports, I don't hear long-term solution. I hear the word contingency. For me in the fire service, contingency is your plan for if something occurs, but what's the plan to prevent that from occurring? if we don't change anything and it's tied to our staffing levels, how can we expect a different result? We have made the determination. The suggestions in the result was to increase the pool. We have been trying to work together to do that for well over a year. We do well as dealing with issues as they come up, but what we've been asking and demanding at this point is what is that long-term solution? And I didn't hear that. And we need to hear that today. The long-term solution from us is what we've been trying to do, and that's address the pool numbers. We know that fully staffed at 78 with the pool that it currently is, isn't sufficient, because if it was sufficient, we wouldn't be having these issues. And we're kicking the can down the road if we don't address that. We had a handshake deal at one point to increase the pool to 20%, because we don't know what's needed to address this issue. But we recognized at one point that we need to address it and we need to increase the pool. That was walked back. We never got to see that 20% pool go into effect. And we're here today with the same issues happening over and over. So a contingency plan isn't long-term. Unless everybody's good with a long-term plan of browning out medics and reducing services. Those are great for alleviating the current time period, right? To try to provide some relief. Well, what is the solution to prevent those from happening? What's the solution to prevent us from putting contingency 1, 2, and 3 into play? That comes as a cost to the membership, that comes as a cost to the public, and that comes as a fiscal responsibility cost. When we're putting an AMR unit in play, that's not just a regular AMR unit, that's a higher cost that's using a surge protection that's dipping into a fund for surge that we might need when we do hit summer and we start getting stressed and we're running low on ambulances, which we do see in the region, which I think a couple of years ago, we asked for a strike team ambulance because we got down to 1 ambulance in the entire county and city at one point. So these contingencies aren't long-term plans or solutions. Long-term plans or solutions are what we've been trying to do, and that's increase the pool and the hiring, and we've been limiting it. So there is still no result, no solution, no long-term plan that I'm hearing, and I need to hear what that plan is. One thing, this isn't a new program and this isn't a dig or anything to you, so please don't take it that way. Metro is only 25 years old, going on 26 now. This program's been around for 13 years. So half the time a Metro Fire. The MMP program was put in service in 2013. So it's been around for a long time. The name of it changed. It was called Single Roles. At the time, it wasn't a career position. We had a 2-year term as we were figuring things out. And the goal was for it to be a feeder program pushing into the suppression academy. We grew that program and we did a good job growing it. Right now, it's marketed as a career position. Probably firefighter math, 1/3 of this group here came here with the intent of it being a career position. Not necessarily with the intent that they're going to go to suppression. With the promise and the marketing that we did that they will have career positions and growth. So the statement of they don't come here to be career MMPs, that's not exactly true. And the members are here today, and if you want to ask questions, we might have some come up and be able to speak. I was hoping we didn't have to have anybody come speak and I can address it and kind of shield them. But if it comes down to it and we have questions, we can get those answers for you today. So really, we have some statements in packets we can hand out to everybody to read to kind of reiterate the current stance and the validity of the survey. But my ask today is still the same question. What is the long-term goal? How are we going to prevent from being in this situation going forward? Where's the light at the end of the tunnel?
You have a quick second?
Yeah.
All right, I just wanted to see if there's any questions from the board. Director Sailors?
I don't have a question, but I would like to point out that we did mention a solution. And the solution is in recruitment. And it's on our agenda for next meeting. And we pointed out that we have 400 people on the roster to be hired. And we are working on it. And if you don't think that's a solution, I don't know what else a long-term solution would look like for you.
The solution would be increasing the number that we hire from that group. Instead, we're going to limit it. We're going to say we're capped at 86. We know that 86 doesn't work. 86 is today. 86 is the current struggle, the issue that we're having, and the contingency plans that are needing to be put in place. If we don't change that 86 recruitment, I hear you with the recruitment. The change is changing that number that we're going to bring in.
So you want to run an academy with more than 50 people in it? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying what the academy size needs to be. What I'm saying is the pool needs to be changed. We need a larger pool to absorb the 10 to 12 that are off day to day. The MMP as a,
Oh,
you
but
know,
it's a negotiated item. That's in the MOU.
we've been working to get that.
Okay, but right now, the solution is that we need to hire people, and we are hiring people. And the recruitment will be talked about at our next agendized meeting.
Sorry, if I may. Sorry, thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Clearly, there's a lot of passion around this particular topic. And I think it's important that we dig into it a little bit more. And I think what we heard today, as far as the plan, we have some things in place. We may not all agree with those aspects. And I think what you guys are providing us is some options that I think are important for us to consider. So I don't mean to cut off the conversation, but I do think it's an opportunity for us to maybe pick some time to circle back. I don't know if we're going to solve this issue today, but I think you guys have come forward with some great ideas. I think we've got a plan, and I think we have a gap, if I may be honest. And so we need to address that gap. So I don't mean to cut anybody off. So I'll bring it back to you guys. Sorry.
President Costa, if I may.
Yes.
I'm open to collaboration and a meeting at any time. Doesn't have to wait for labor management. So I propose we take this conversation to labor management or to a labor management meeting with executive team and anybody from labor. We're prepared today for a meeting immediately to address ideas. We have some that we are going to put into place here shortly and present those for long-term solutions. I think that's the appropriate time and the appropriate place to conduct that type of business.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
I would just piggyback on a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who I am, so I'm not going to do the introduction and everything.
Vice
So-
President Scollard.
Yes,
Thank
there
you.
we go. Thank you, President Costa. For just some historical perspective on what we're talking about as far as the pools and the things like that. When we decided to make the MMPs a career path within Metro Fire, I was part of the negotiation group that added them into our MOU. A lot of the language, and this is just for perspective, board perspective, a lot of the language that we utilized to be able to draft their MOU was copy and paste from the suppression. We knew both sides. We knew that there was going to be kinks in that. We knew that it's a different workforce, it's a different schedule. We knew that it wasn't going to be absolutely perfect and that we were going to have to come back to the table and pivot. I think the long-term vision and planning of it is super important. I would agree with Chief House that outside of this room is the best place to look at that and address what the plan is for that group. And then we need to relay it back to that group so they understand where they're working, what opportunities they have in the organization. And we need to be able to revisit the current environment that they're experiencing today and ensure them that we have proper planning in place to not revisit it, to not repeat history. And part of that is reevaluating the pool. I'm not here to try and negotiate that. This isn't the place to be able to do that. But I think everybody can agree that a 10% pool doesn't work. Even in the survey results and the recommendation coming out of some of those stated that an increased pool is what we need. We know we need that. these folks need that so that they don't experience the burnout and so that we can deal with some of the staffing shortfalls when people go out on long-term injuries and stuff like that. An 8-person pool for this group just doesn't work. And so we have to make that a priority and address, and that has to be built into that long-term vision and planning. But I think a lot of what these folks are looking for is what else is part of that long-term vision? What are the career path opportunities? I can tell you, I don't want to work on one of our busy ambulances for the next 30 years. I don't work on the ambulance right now. And just thinking about working on one of our busiest ambulances for the next 30 years sounds miserable. And I know a lot of them are thinking the same thing, that they don't want to do that. They came here for a career opportunity that had hopes of promotional opportunities, opportunities for them to become supervisors and FTOs and dedicated positions, and building out that program so that they have room to grow, so they're not having to look elsewhere. And I think that's part of the vision that a lot of this group is looking for, to say, if I want to be a paramedic at Metro Fire for the next 30 years, is that a possibility or is it not? Because right now they don't have the answer to that, and it appears that that's not an opportunity here. So that's I just wanted to provide that clarification and context and how we got to where we're at and how the program has kind of developed from a transitional position to a truly career position is what we're selling it as. And then there's some folks here that and I want to acknowledge the MFP group. I know it's a difficult ask to have you guys come. I know that in our meeting with Chief House, you thought it would be a good idea to hear directly from some of them. I know it's an uncomfortable situation. I appreciate you guys doing it, but it is super important for the organization to hear from all of you, to really hear it from the people that are experiencing everything that you're going through. And so I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day. I know it's probably the only day off you've had this month. I also want to acknowledge the work that's been done on the labor and the management side as far as some of those short-term plans. Like those aren't to be discounted. I don't want that. I don't want the message to get lost here, is that those short-term solutions are super important for these folks. We acknowledge that. We're not going to discount that. Just like last meeting, we acknowledge the work that's gone in, the meetings with the EMS group and some of those short-term solutions. Those are part of the plan: short-term, mid-term, long-term solutions. So it's not a discount to the efforts that have gone in and some of the operational changes. It's the sustainability of that. And how are we going to get to a point to where we can maintain the staffing levels that we have? So I'll introduce Dylan Hurley. He is MMP shift rep, and I know he has some words to share along with some of his colleagues that he'll introduce. Questions if you have them for me before I walk away, because I always walk away and you got questions.
I'd like to wait till you get back there and I'll call you back up. No, I'm kidding. No. I'll say before we turn it over, like I indicated before, I think there's a lot of passion here, both from the district, from 522, and from the board, and we want to solve this issue. The best way for us to do that clearly is to have a meeting. And so I'll just say something a theme I'm gathering is we have a communication dynamic that we need to address. And I know you guys are interested in sitting down and address that. I know Chief House is as well. I know there are board members as well that would like to do that. We don't want to run, it's not our role to run the organization. We hire people to do that. But this is an issue that we need to lean into and address. And so I know we have a few others that would like to say some words, but I would like to connect. I think we've got an idea about circling back and having a meeting. And I appreciate you pointing out the fact that there are short-term, and those short-terms get us to long-term. And I'm a big fan of trying something, and if it's not working, pivoting and trying something different. We can't do that without those types of short-term goals. So bear with us. And I think as Director Sailors has said, it's somewhat new and we're trying to work through that, and there's some growing pains associated with that. So thank you for coming tonight and providing your feedback, and I look forward to bringing us back together to kind of dig into it some more. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dylan Hurley. I am an MMP paramedic here. I've also had the honor to be the MMP shop steward here now for the last 2 years, representing this lovely group over here sitting behind me and the people standing here. I want to take a moment to thank them for coming out tonight. It takes a lot to come out here and stand in front and voice these concerns. And to everybody, I appreciate, and our rank does appreciate, these short-term solutions and this becoming such a big issue. That has not missed our group at all. being part of the MP shop steward too, I get all of their calls about the issues of what's going on and how they feel. And I can safely and confidently say that the group as a whole is unhappy. I don't think it's as simple as just saying it's a staffing issue or a promotional opportunity issue. I think it's a multifaceted issue that has just accumulated the group. And I think right now, a lot of the members of the group are at the breaking point. I've been here for 4 years now, which in the grand scheme of things is not a long time at all. I still have 33 more years to go before I can retire. But in that time, I have gotten a sense of the ebbs and flows of the fire service and staffing issues and all that. I understand that. I think everyone that is in this room understood that when they got into this career path, that this career path does require sacrifices so that we can serve our community. And that's something that we're happy to do. I don't want to keep it short. I think everyone's kind of said enough about where we all stand tonight and our opinions and our feelings and all that kind of stuff. I'd like to give more of the opportunity to the paramedics behind me that aren't a part of the labor team to give their voice and their opinion about what they say. But before I do that, is there any questions for me? I'd like to introduce paramedic Karen Goff then first.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, everyone. Okay, bear with me. So I'm here tonight to share some of my experiences as an MMP with Metro Fire. I have been with this department for 3 years. I am a 46-year-old person who loves being a paramedic. I'm an oddball. I'm not going to go into suppression. I am one of those weird people that actually enjoys being on an ambulance. So keep that in mind. Recently, a survey was conducted regarding how the ongoing staffing situation has affected the mental health of the rank, and I'm here to give a face to that survey and its members. I would like to thank the MMPs that were able to make it tonight. Many were already working and were unable to attend. Others were out of town, and a few probably didn't have the capacity to be at work any longer than they already are. The MMP rank is largely made up of the newest and youngest members in the district. As I said, I'm kind of an exception. Many have aspirations of a career on the suppression side. This often means that these members are afraid to speak up and share what life is like as an MMP, for fear that it will jeopardize their future goals. With this in mind, I'm here to tell you the survey is not only real and valid, but the true results, had everyone responded, might be even worse. Think of it this way. 2/3 of our membership responded to a work survey that was sent to their work email by a company officer. And they actually shared those things with us. That's a huge risk. And these members put their fear aside to share how they're feeling, not only to receive, at the time it seemed no response or meaningful change from the administration, but to hear that the survey's validity was questioned was shocking. I hear the phrase, "This is what you signed up for." It is not. I signed up to work nights, weekends, holidays, to see terrible things in often unsafe situations, to work on the busiest ambulances in this department. I did not sign up to work multiple overtime shifts per week to the detriment of my mental and physical health due to a fixable problem. We need a larger pool for this rank due to its size. A rank this small, only a few members are a large percentage. Even a few members missing can cause a lot of mandatories in such a small rank. And we have many members who are off roster for various reasons who count towards staffing and yet have not been on an ambulance in years in some cases. The on-paper numbers do not reflect the lived experiences of our members. This is before we dive into injuries, special assignments, routine uses of sick and vacation time. We just need to be more adaptable with these evolving situations. And I realize also that, as you've mentioned, there are some communication gaps because there are definitely things that are happening that we aren't aware of. And this is another consequence of that, is there seems like there's no end in sight And so it feels even worse. Until we do that, retention and growth won't happen. And we are at risk for not only the crumbling of this rank, but perhaps an even worse consequence. Because again, a couple of people on that survey, and those are the ones who shared that with us. So one might surmise that there are people who didn't feel comfortable sharing even more on a work survey. Thank you guys for listening, and thanks to all my people. Look at this. We filled up quite a few rows. I think that's really cool. We have a lot of good people who work here. And thank you guys for what you're doing. I think sometimes we don't get to hear any of that. So.
Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for coming.
The next person is Jacob Prowl, who is a paramedic as well with us.
First off, I'd say good evening and thank you for the opportunity to speak and share my experiences tonight. Really, I wanted to focus a lot on myself and kind of my experience that I've been through here. My name is Jacob Prowl. I've been a single role paramedic for Sac Metro for nearly 3 years now. I came to Metro because, like many others, I believed in what this department stands for, a department that cares deeply both about its community and its members that it serves in its community. I came to Metro because they were building a sustainable career path for paramedics and EMTs that gave value to profession that is more often taken advantage of and thrown to the wayside. A program in its inception that was created to show that Metro cares about the medical service that they provide, but also the future and health and well-being of its community. Before I ever set foot in an academy, we were asked to memorize Sac Metro's core values and mission statement. Our values are as follows: integrity, professionalism, devotion to duty, and teamwork. Our mission statement is as follows: to provide professional and compassionate protection, education, and service to our community. I remember reading those words and thinking, this is where I want to build my career. Formulating a belief that this organization truly cares, a belief that they care about who they are hiring and why they are hiring these people to join the Metro family. And it's the true identity of who we are. That belief is what led me to leave Oregon, enter the academy knowing that one mistake could cost me everything, and spend my days working long hours and driving during my days off 5+ hours back and forth from my home to establish roots here. A sacrifice my wife, and I struggled through for nearly a year. I gave everything I had just for the opportunity to be in this department. I believe in the soul of what Metro is capable of being. But I also care enough about this department to speak honestly about what many of us within the MMP rank are experiencing. We are suffering. Let me open the door and give you some insight as to what the suffering looks like. Our schedule was designed with a built-in recovery period because ambulances operate in some of the busiest districts in this region. 24-hour shifts with minimal sleep were common, most nights as little as 3 hours. And the schedule was built around the understanding that recovery matters. But increasingly, those recovery days are becoming work days. Mandatory callbacks and overtimes are spreading exhaustion across entire weeks in ways that never allow people to fully recover. A 12-hour shift may only appear to be half a day on paper, but in reality, it consumes your ability to rest, recover, and be present at home. For many of us, the phone continues to ring even after shift ends because another ambulance needs staffing, another gap needs to be filled, another person is too exhausted to show up. And over time, that constant cycle begins to wear people down. You begin planning your life around the expectation that your time is no longer truly your own. Important moments with family, relationships, milestones that should be fully present for and meaningful become overshadowed by exhaustion, callbacks, or a possibility that work might interrupt them at any moment. That level of constant intrusion changes people over time. Money becomes valueless as time slips through your fingers. The desire to just be home, just be able to go to your son's baseball game means more than any paycheck Metro could possibly offer. Members now have to use personal time to protect what little shred of their humanity remains, knowing that they are only putting the pressure on another MMP that feels the exact same way. Because of this, the conditions many of us are experiencing no longer feels aligned with the values we were taught to uphold at the very beginning. Recovery is treated as optional instead of necessary. Professional courtesy begins to erode under constant staffing pressure. Teamwork becomes difficult when exhaustion and burnout are becoming the norm rather than an exception. And devotion to duty, the one value that brought so many of us here, can only become something people feel pressured to prove through personal sacrifice, no matter the cost. You see it in morale. You see it in relationships. You see it in mental health. You see it in the providers who genuinely love this job, but are struggling to sustain a pace being asked of them. A future promise as a sustainable program, a career path, lost to them. I know this because I've lived this myself. I've exhausted the mental health resources available. I've exhausted the mental health resources available to me through this department. I've struggled with physical challenges that become nearly insurmountable without serious intervention. My wife has sat beside me in tears over the constant calls and feeling that work never truly stops as we watch our lives fade away. And I know my experience is not unique. Recently, members within this rank were surveyed about their experiences. Some of those responses were deeply concerning, including individuals expressing hopelessness, severe enough to mention suicidal thoughts. That should concern every one of us, because at that point, this is no longer simply a staffing issue or an operational issue. It becomes a human issue. I want to be clear. I'm not standing here attacking leadership or assigning blame. I have worked with incredible people that I respect most. Some of those people I respect most are in this room today. I know there are people who care deeply about who care deeply and are trying to help. But I also believe that we've reached a point where acknowledgement of the seriousness of these conditions is necessary. I won't pretend that speaking out is easy. The fear of retaliation is something many of us feel, and the fear alone makes conversations like this difficult to have openly. I do not take the risk of standing here lightly, but remaining silent while people are struggling this deep did not feel right to me either. I still believe in this department. I still believe in the people within this rank, the people who continue to show up, continue to answer the calls, and continue giving more of themselves because they care deeply about this community and they care about each other. Those people deserve a system that cares for them with the same commitment that they give to everybody else. I believe Sac Metro is capable of being that department. I still believe in the values that we speak about. I still believe that we can obtain that mission, and I hope that we can continue to move forward a future where people serving the community can build a long, healthy, sustainable career here without sacrificing themselves in the process. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just say, there's never a risk to speaking. So please speak up. And thank you for taking the time to provide that. Any questions from the board? So if I may, I'll just close it out real quick, if you don't mind.
Oh, just seeing if there's.
Thank you again. I think it's always difficult to get up here. It's nerve-wracking. But speaking our mind is important. So thank you for providing us that. Thank you for coming here tonight. And thank you for being in the room. This organization is more than just a few individuals. It takes everybody. And so everyone needs to be in the room. And, democracy sometimes is messy, but it's important that we talk to each other and give each other feedback. So I'll just ask, because I think next steps are going to be important. Bear with us as we work together. And I think, there's a lot of passion here. And the best of our abilities, let's try to hold that passion so we can work towards a common goal. And so I know Chief put that out there. The Chief mentioned, member wellness and sustainable staffing. We need to sit down and figure this out. So thank you for taking the time. Thank you for your patience as we try to tackle some of these things. Thank you for speaking up, because again, it's important. This is your district. This is your organization. You should always feel welcomed here to speak up and provide us feedback. So thank you. So before we transition to committee and delegate reports, I do want to take the time to recognize all the efforts that the team has put together to try to tackle this issue. And I think it's always hard, never perfect, not everybody is satisfied. But I just want to thank you for leaning in to try to solve the problem. Thank you for being here tonight to provide your feedback. Again, bear with us as we try to tackle this thing. We've got a lot of items to consider. And I hope, quite frankly, that everything is on the table. And so thank you again for taking the time or providing the feedback of what we're seeing. So I think it's important, the feedback of what you guys are feeling, because that's important. It gives us a lot to think about. So thank you.
I think you said it right. Everything's on the table. We have to look at the program in its entirety.
Thank you, Chief. All right. We'll pivot to committee and delegate reports. So the executive committee, our next meeting is June 11th at 4:30. We'll move to Communications Center JPA, Deputy Chief Farica.
Good evening again, Board. Joe Furica, Deputy Chief of Administration, and your representative for the Comm Center JPA Board. We last met on Tuesday of this week, the 26th. During that meeting, the board approved the fiscal year 26-27 preliminary budget. The board also approved the appointment of Chief Wilborn as the Chief Executive Director to replace Chief Derek Parker of the Sacramento Fire Department over at the Comm Center. There was no other reportable action taken, and our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board? Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Finance and Audit Committee, Director Jones.
Thank you, President Costa. Finance and Audit Committee met tonight. We had several good reports from CFO O'Toole and Senior Analyst Aaron Castleberry on multiple projects. Everything, there were a lot of highlights, a lot of information. Some of them might be, please feel free to look through the preliminary budget. Okay, we have over $123 million in benefits already budgeted. We have $10 million budgeted for payoff of Measure O bonds. We have 3.1 for behavioral health. And we need to keep a lookout for the future, as has been expressed in multiple fronts here. It is very, very important. We will need 58 additional positions, minimum staffing for the 2 stations that we have planned out to build. Now, whether that takes 2 years or 4 or 5 years, that's part of this building process. But that's one of the future items that we need to keep in mind when we talk about a lot of expansion, and expansion is needed. Expansion is needed. So how do we do that? At this point, we do have a structural budget deficit, and we need to look hard at all the ways to fulfill the obligations we have to our members, as well as to our residents. And I do have confidence that the leadership here, the board, senior staff, the folks that jump on, the medics, the engines, and the trucks, we can all work together and figure this out. So that's my report for the Finance and Audit Committee. Next meeting is June 25th, 5:30 in these chambers.
All right. Thank you, Director Jones. Any questions? All right. Policy Committee, Director Clark.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the Policies Committee next meeting will be on June 11th at 5:30 PM. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Director. That takes us to board member questions and comments. Director Jones.
Thank you, everyone, for your participation tonight, for your contributions, ideas, and I'm ready to move forward I'm just ready to move forward and be positive, and let's continue to build Metro Fire. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Director Clark.
Yes, I want to also thank everyone for the reports and the discussion that we had tonight. It's very important that we deal with a lot of these issues in our district, and there's a bit of healing that needs to be done here, and I'm sure we will be able to deal with it and work towards it. We got to through the board and also our administration. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Clark. Director Stark. Thank you, Director. Director Sailors. Thank you. Director Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will agree with the comments that were said earlier, and I'll just add, I just want to thank Chief Rudnicki for you and your staff, all the hard work you guys put into the survivors benefit, making sure that everybody from dispatch through hospital personnel were recognized at making sure these people had another chance at life. And it was a great event, great opportunity. And the interesting thing I got from talking to dispatchers to our personnel and the nurses is they really enjoyed being there and being part of that event because they were able to see the outcome. Our people go on these calls all the time and they don't have any idea what happens to people. And it was just neat to be able to for them to look these people in the eye and hear them say, thanks for saving my life. So thank you for all you did to get that together. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Director Rice.
Thank you. It really is a lot to digest, and the meeting on the 14th brought a lot of information out. It was interesting. A lot more has been gleaned and learned in the in-between. I know President Costa, you mentioned that a communication gap, and I appreciate that, but what we've had is a communication failure. And it takes multiple people and multiple people within an organization to do that. So I'll own my bit of it, and we should all own it. But what I've tried to hear and listen and learn things. I was a union president when the single role program came. It was corrupted from day one by the past fire chief. The ambition for it was true. The ambition was to replace private industry and move those firefighter paramedics into the fourth person staffing model to begin to upstaff engine companies at Ford to meet the national staffing standard via NFPA 1710. And that was about the time that we had, the Great Recession, Depression. I mean, the economy just, the bottom of it fell out. And the fire chief then made a move to, through attrition, take all of the medics, the dual role firefighter medics, and float them to single role and move all those firefighters onto the engine and truck service and use them to fill holes and to not hire. And so that was a huge battle. And the one thing that we learned when we didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, we maintained the program. I do disagree with, it is not a professional program, and I wish those two medics were still in here. In 2011, John Wagner was an assistant chief, and at senior staff, we brought the idea up of having a standalone EMS division, and we were laughed out of the room. I think that we're at a crossroads. I think that until the folks that are on the paramedic units, and that's what we should call them, they should be compensated the same as a firefighter. Their call volume is off the charts. Their exposures are phenomenal. I think we're at a point not just to figure out how to give these folks some respite care, which that's the second part, Chief. I think you need to close another one of these down. And I think we need to build the pool today. And if we have people that we can't fill in the hole, then run some 3-person MMP units until we get this figured out. But I heard, what I heard from the two members concerns me greatly. And we talk about this at this level. We talk about it operationally, and chief officer and human resources and union and negotiating. But the people that are paying the price for our talk were sitting right out there. And Chief, I just think you need to shut another one of these down. We need to get these folks home. You could see the look on their faces, and that's just two of them. The other one, I heard it's going to cost us money for surge protection. Well, tough shit. We're going to pay it. When did money supersede the well-being of the employees? It never has, and it doesn't today. And the other one, and President Costa, this is for the executive committee. This board really needs to examine what your management rights are to hire, promote, direct, and do all those things to the staff. We need to fully understand what the agreements are in the PAD, what the restrictions are. And I do think that there are areas that we have been laissez-faire. We have an obligation. We have an obligation to provide a workforce that is highly trained, highly motivated, and it is sustainable. I hate the word because everybody uses it. But when we have people that can't go home, they're crying, their wives are in tears because the phone's ringing constantly, we're in a bad spot. We need to close another one of these down. And we need to take a pause, and we need to figure out where we're going. Because where we're going right now is not going to work. You're going to lose how many to the next fire academy? 14? 10? And it just goes from there. I apologize. I didn't write the names down, but our paramedic that said, I'm different, I'm an anomaly. You're not. You're exactly the person I want coming to my front door. I think that we haven't targeted the right demographic. I think all these MMP units should be double paramedic. We should not be running EMT and paramedic units, one-on-ones. We should be dual medic units. They're too busy. And I think this whole thing needs to get evaluated and reevaluated, and what are we doing here? But for today, we have got to give these folks a break. And I'm sorry, Mr. President, if I'm out of line. I think you ought to close another one of these things down and let everybody get their feet on the ground, and let's see where we're at. And then let's figure out where we're going in the future, because we've never defined it. The one thing that the Single Rule Program has done very, very, very well, it is a great funnel onto the suppression side of the house. But I think that a standalone professional EMS division with room to move is really where this organization and agency needs to go. So that's my 2 cents. I appreciate you giving me that leeway, Mr. President, but I feel if I was in your shoes today, I'd shut another one down. It breaks my heart to hear that. And it doesn't break my heart as much as it concerns me greatly. I saw it in the faces and I heard it in the voices. And those two were very, very professional in everything that they had to say. And if you've worked in emergency services, you can see it. So that's my 2 cents, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Rice.
President Costa, can I comment on that?
Please.
I heard it in their voices too. And Chief Wagaman and I have talked. That's in our next plan. We are going to shut another one down, if not two. We have to get ahead of this, right? There is other things that are going to be presented to labor. We're prepared to do deeper dives than that. And I agree with you. We have to look at the entire program and possibly reinvent what it looks like for the future of Metro Fire. That may be a standalone division. It may be supervisory roles, so they have promotional opportunities. Everything at this point, from my view today, is on the table. And so that discussion with operations and Chief Wagaman, we're already prepared to do that. And I think it may not even be one. We're going to probably dive deeper than that, anticipating the transition of the 10 with 5 coming out of the academy. We have to get ahead of this. People aren't going to all enjoy that. Some will, some will not. But we have to look at the health of the organization along with the health of all of our members.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Director Rice. Director Weber.
I have no comments. Thank you.
All right. Before I close out, it's been a lot of feedback, a lot of passion, a lot of emotion. And thank you, because that means we care and we want to solve these problems. So thank you, board members, for leaning in. Thank you, team. Thank you, Chief, Deputy Chiefs, for all that you're doing. I know this is hard. Sometimes you don't get, you get less positive feedback than you might otherwise for the work you're doing. But with that being said, I think as we heard, we've got a lot to do. And the feedback we're getting tonight from the members is important. And I think every member of this organization should come here and give us feedback. That's why we're here. And this doesn't work without that feedback. So I would encourage everyone who feels passionately about whatever it is that they're going through or the situation that they think this district should be moving towards should come here and give us that feedback so we can make well-informed decisions. And with that, sometimes those decisions may not be what we want, but those are the decisions for the health and wellness of the organization and the members. We have to lean in and do that. So thank you for that. Thank you, board members, for your feedback and comments, and thank you, staff, for leaning in. More to come. So thank you, Chief, for the next steps here. And I would like to ask that as we get that together, that a board member, maybe we can discuss whom that might be. I know Director Stark is very passionate about this too, and so maybe there's an opportunity for us to lean in a little bit more to help. Not to get in the way, but to help. So thank you. And with that, Director Weber, I'd like to turn it to you before we close.
Yes, I'd like to, are we going into closed session?
We're going to be going to closed session, yeah.
Well, then we're going to close. Well, I'd just like to have a moment of silence for Captain Sidorowski.
Yeah.
And at the end of the meeting, close it in his honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Closed session.
Sorry. Did you ever meet him?
No.
The guy was a gazelle.
All right, we're going to close session and turn it over to legal counsel. Report out from closed session.
Thank you, Director Costa. The board met in closed session on item number 1, conference with labor negotiator for the employee organizations listed in the closed session agenda. No reportable action was taken. The board also met in closed session regarding the industrial disability retirement related to Brian Smith. No reportable action was taken. That matter will be considered now in open session. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. So with that, that brings us back to action item number 2. Adopt a resolution for industrial disability retirement for firefighter Brian Smith.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Director Sailors,
Aye.
Director Wood,
Aye.
Director Stark,
Aye.
Director Clark, Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Rice,
Aye.
Director Weber,
Aye.
President Costa.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. And before we close the meeting, we'd like to close tonight's meeting in honor of Captain Ray Stedrowski. Stedrowski. With that, the meeting is adjourned.